what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Slick James Johnson. How are you doing?
Hello.
Hopefully we'll get a few guests shortly. I have shared the link. I just need to share it in the actual live show, don't I? That said, I might wait a few minutes till we get a few friendlies in, because the last show was heavily sniped. So if I share the link immediately with the public, we'll just get the same snipers in wiping out this show, which I don't want. So hopefully we'll get Arwin and company and a few other nice people instead of the whole horrible trolly snipes. Do a bit of housekeeping though while we're waiting. Any signs of curvature, Slick?
Nothing. And that's an interesting question because of the conversation that you were just having with Zender. I think what they should do is that they should put a disclaimer on their calculator and say, if the Earth was a curve, this is what you would see. And I think that's what they're doing wrong.
Hey, Travis.
Yeah. So if they would put that on there, if the Earth was a curve, if it was a globe, this is what you would see.
What was that, Travis? Maybe he couldn't hear us. About axial rotation of the Earth-based variety. Any signs of that?
Nothing.
We could hear you, yes, Travis. But maybe you can't hear us. So you can't maybe hear the reply. Who knows? What about scientific evidence of gravity? Any signs of that?
Nothing whatsoever.
Any evidence of gas pressure being maintained without a container?
Nothing whatsoever. Like I said, they need you to believe it in order to be drawn into their system where they can tell you anything.
How about the distance to the sun? Measured distance.
Same thing. They need you to believe it so that they can draw you in. And once they draw you in, they can tell you anything from there, all the way from how the universe began to black holes.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nothing whatsoever.
About the R value used in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator. Any evidence of Earth
you guys
radius?
Hear me? Type in chat because I can't hear.
Okay. No problem, Travis. We hear you.
Okay. All right, I'm just going to be on mute.
No evidence of the old R value, Earth radius?
Nothing whatsoever.
Where is everybody? We had a full panel on the last show. They all got sniped. Maybe it's like literally if I'm not getting the link out within 3 minutes, they're all like, sod this. Who cares?
But yeah, like I was saying, I think that's what they need to do. They should make that calculator and put a disclaimer if the Earth was a globe, because by saying globe, calculator, and not putting that disclaimer on there, they're misleading people into believing that they're on a globe, and that's why they think that calculator is valid. So they need to put a nice disclaimer on that.
Yeah, it kind of amuses me that you have people who would automatically assume that it includes the obvious fact that we have perspective in our day-to-day lives, and whenever you take a picture, look through a telescope, you're always taking into account the things in the distance that can't be seen. For example, America, from here in England, can't be seen. Why? Well, it's way too small. The angle that you would have to is just beyond non-existent. It's tiny, so it's too small. It's beyond the diffraction limit. You can't see it. However, if you plug that into an Earth curve calculator, it'll tell you the only reason you can't see it is because Earth's got in the way.
Right, and because of that disclaimer, that's why you'll hear many people say, well, if the Earth wasn't a globe, you should be able to see America from England. See, that's the problem with them not having a disclaimer on there. They fall into their own rhetoric then.
Yeah, they actually believe that if the Earth wasn't a sphere, you could see forever. It's like, no, you see in perspective. Things that are small, or even things that are big and far enough away, become too small to see. Hey, Flat Earth.
Hello.
Hey,
Now you're here. I'll stick the link out for the public. So if you're watching this on the live stream, then you can now join. You just have to refresh your page.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Arwin.
That sniper was quick.
Yeah, they're on fire
Sniped
today.
everyone instantly.
Well, I've just shared the link with the public, so we might have the same exact thing occur. We shall see. Show 800. Maybe it's like a milestone for the fanatic, fundy, zealot globeheads. Like, no, we must sabotage the 800th show.
and see, that's just so telling right there. When they have to resort to that, that just shows you that they have no confidence in their product whatsoever, because if they did, they wouldn't have to snipe it out.
I kicked Rumpus before that happened. Maybe that was the trigger for it. I used and abused him. All I wanted him to do is disclaim that the curve calcs have no perspective. Hey, Anon.
Well, if you didn't, you were just going to get the Rumpus show, where he was just going to take over the whole thing and just like he does on Jose's. Once he goes on Jose's, he owns it.
Sure. Well, he still hasn't, complied after saying he would model out Anthony's observation of the Isle of Man from his belly on the beach at some bees. It's always one more day, 99% done, not quite ready to be presented. And I've said all along, we'll let you beg the question and assume the Earth's a sphere and model it out in your reification fallacy. Show us the model where you can actually make that observation work. And it's not been forthcoming. So I have no guilt whatsoever just kicking his ass out after he disclaims that Rory's a dumbass, claiming that perspective is included in the geometric calculations that beg the question, prove nothing, and hijack perspective. They definitely don't include it.
Well, like I said, all you were going to get after that anyway is that, well, you're just too stupid to understand. You don't understand because you're stupid. You were just going to hear about a half hour of that.
Right. Yeah, I've had my fill of rumpus. But as tertiary sources, you end up finding out, hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Yo.
Find out on the grapevine about these idiots like Dazzle the cameraman and Rory.
What's what's the current? What have I missed?
Just the sniping session.
How long have you been back live?
Let's have a look. Very long, 4 minutes.
Oh right,
No, 9
so we've not
minutes.
done
9 minutes.
not done housekeeping yet. Then no.
Yeah, we've done housekeeping.
Oh, was there any evidence of curvature?
No, we did discuss the tail end of the last show, which was to say Zinda came on and, it gets frustrating when you get somebody to concede that things disappear into the distance, and then they say, well, no, it's not in the calculator, but it's not a perspective calculator. And like, yeah, that's our point. It's just madness.
What was the conclusion with Zinda? Did you lose your temper with him or what?
Of course. I get very frustrated when somebody concedes that things disappear with distance and then also concede that that's not included in the calculator that is accounting for things disappearing in the distance. The point being, the only assertion from that calculator is that things disappear in the distance for only one reason. Earth has got in the way. That's the only assertion. There's no other factors. There's no, well, it's just too small to see. It's a 10-foot tree at 25 miles, therefore way too small to actually resolve. Well, that's not included. What's it? Why is it gone, Earth curve calculator? What's that you say? Earth curve? Oh, what a surprise. It was me coming to this Earth curve calculator expecting you to say something else. What's that? What's that you say? It's Earth curve? What, the reason I can't see this Rubik's Cube at 3 miles away? That's Earth curve getting in the way, is it? It's 8 inches of Earth curve. Whatever the maths is. How many miles did I say? 3. Right. Anyway, it's Earth curve. Not because it's too small. Very easy to see 8 miles or 4 miles or whatever I said earlier with a telescope. But you're saying that it's disappeared to Earth curve. Oh, right. Maybe there's other things that cause things to disappear in the distance. What's that you say, Zinder? There is? Well, where's that in the calculator? It's not there. No shit. It's hijacked it. It's calling perspective Earth curve. Simple as.
Yeah, I agree.
And you know, if somebody didn't come along and point that out, we all would be globe people eternally, because we would never know that things disappear in the distance. We would all just be under the assumption that the only thing that could cause it is curve.
It'd be good to know when it was, how far back it was that we realised that it was the hijacking of perspective. I mean, we've been bang. I mean, how long is it? I mean, at least it must be at least 200 shows, maybe more. Wonder when the turning point was.
I could tell you exactly. So
Wasn't it basically the response to all the autographic ball view with a person standing upon it? Because they were constantly falling back on that nonsense. And eventually we just saw, like, that is not how it works.
Ranty drew the linear relationship with something that was always being asserted as being caused by Earth curve. So you've got wind turbines going into the distance, and they're getting smaller as they go into the distance, as you would exactly expect. That's perspective. But the globe side claim, of course, what's causing that? Well, it's caused by Earth curve, of course. They've only got one cause of anything happening in the distance, Earth curve. So we can just rest assured that that will be the claim in every single instance whenever we talk about the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator. The cause of these wind turbines getting smaller with distance is Earth curve. So I said to Ranty, can you find these exact wind turbines going into the distance and alleged to be curving with the Earth, but inside elevation? So Ranty went through terabytes of data, like loads and loads and loads of it, and found exactly that, a span from left to right. And they're obviously flat as a pancake. There's no curve whatsoever, let alone this really exaggerated curve, because it's perspective. You know, they're just getting smaller into the distance and they're very far away. So there's no curve there. And what Ranty then did was worked out how much there should be based on their distance, and that it should be an exponential increase, 8 inches per mile squared. So the further you go, the bigger or more extreme the curve is. And there isn't one. When you actually map out what you see going into the distance, it's completely linear. In other words, in line with perspective, and sod all to do with this exponentially increasing curve as you look further and further away. And that's always going to be the problem. So when you've shown Dazza the cameraman's footage and he's showing a boat with the bottom obscured, claimed to be, well, what else? Of course it's Earth curve, right? Well, the problem is that there's a landmass further into the distance. Well, yes, it's much smaller than the boats. That's an effect of perspective. Well, the only claim from them is that there's a much, much bigger curve going further away because it's increasing exponentially as you look out into the distance. It's not. It's completely linear. So when you end up with this piece of land that shouldn't be there, if you claim it's a sphere, it's because you don't have this exponential increase in drop. You just have linear perspective. And if you can see a long way on the day, 40 plus miles potentially, then you're going to see stuff that's 40 miles away. So long as it's not too small to see.
Yeah, I remember.
Yep, fun times. Shout out to Awaken Narrative for the super chat. Thank you very much. It says, congratulations, 800 shows and still not one proof of globe. Yep, you're not wrong.
Can't prove globe, but they haven't realised it yet. And they still bully people on the internet into thinking that they can. You can't prove globe. It's not a globe.
No, all they can do is take the effects that we see in day-to-day life and hijack them and attribute them to globe. Well, you know, we see things getting smaller with distance, something that's entirely ignored when your calculator's applied and the only cause is only ever going to be Earth curve. Well, if anybody ever tells you, if you're in the audience and a flat earther, that that curve calculator that assumes its outcome is somehow proof of something, just ask them, do things get smaller with distance? And when they say yes, at a great enough distance, will they disappear? Yes. Where's that included in the calculator? Oh, actual size only.
I'm sorry.
So I was just going to add, it's actual size only, so the mountain that's 3,000 feet is 3,000 feet if you're standing next to it, it's 3,000 feet if it's 30 miles, it's 3,000 feet if it's 300 miles, and, oh, what's that you say? If we're on a flat plane we should see it? Well, that would be ignoring the fact that it's too small to see now, wouldn't it? Like your calculator does. Because that's actually what we're seeing. Things getting smaller with distance. Linear perspective, not exponential curvature, when put into a side profile, when removing all aspects of angular size. That's just bollocks. That's just the way you've all been tricked. You being the globe-head muppets that think they live on a sphere and have absolutely no evidence to back it, other than linear perspective. That's it.
And I was going to add that that's why they need a model, because reality won't help them.
Yeah, they need to reify the sphere first so that you automatically are standing on that sphere. The curve calculator begs the question. It automatically has you on the sphere. Correct. I.e., they need a model so that they can reify the model into existence, because reality isn't a sphere. The reality of the Earth we dwell atop is flat. Hello again, Zinder.
I just looked up Metabank's Earth curve calculator, and here they have a thread about pure angular size results. They don't include it in the original calculator. Like I think the first one that came out didn't include it. But they have like here pure angular size results, and then they have an explanation to it.
Yeah,
So they do think about angular size.
No, they don't. We just covered this with Rumpus. If that was the case, and this was an addition of perspective where it wasn't included previously, then that would make all of Rumpus's calculations incorrect. However, they are identical mathematics using actual size and not angular size for the processing of the assertion that the only cause of things disappearing in the distance is Earth curve. They are still geometric mathematics, identical to what has been used previously. The addition after the mathematics have been done of an angular translation does not mean that they are working out the mathematics based on the angular size resolution, because if they were, they wouldn't continually and only assert the Earth curve is the single cause of things disappearing in the distance. Because if they were including angular size, then somewhere in the calculation it would say that this item is simply too small to see, as opposed to the only assertion of cause of things disappearing being Earth curve. Zinder.
Yeah, they don't include angular size in terms of things dropping quote below the horizon, but things
don't drop below the
state
horizon.
here.
Things don't drop below the horizon. That's the assertion that the Earth curve calculator makes when they assert that things drop below and only drop below the horizon because the Earth is curving. That's the only assertion the calculator makes, Zinder. So, yeah.
So?
Well, things can disappear with distance, though, can't they, Zinder?
Sure, they can.
Yeah. That's not there in the calculator, so it's not accounted for, is it? Not accounted for, Zinder.
Well, they show you how to calculate things disappearing because of angular size. They show you in the calculator.
Oh,
but
and then
they don't.
And then they apply it. So
no, they don't.
Oh, so they show you how to do it and then ignore it. That's
Yes.
useful. So they tell you that things disappear in the distance and still assert. Wow, they're really pissing in your face in that calculator, aren't they, Zinder? They must think you're really stupid when they make that calculator for you.
I think
No, they
the
don't.
only reason it's there now is because of this show and because of Nathan. That's the only reason. If you weren't bringing that up, that would not be there.
But why would they tell you about the angular size of something and then not apply it, Zinder? What's the point in that? They could tell you how to make chicken McNuggets next to that calculator and then completely ignore that. It'd just be irrelevant nonsense, wouldn't it?
For the same reason why when I stand on a bathroom scale, it doesn't show me the temperature of the room.
Sorry, we're looking at pictures. We're not weighing this picture of a sunset, are we? Are we weighing this picture, Zinder? Or is this a false equivalence?
Can you repeat?
Are we
what
weighing this picture of a sunset, or are we comparing it to perspective exclusive geometry mathematics that only assert one cause? Or are we weighing it on a bathroom scale, Zinder?
Oh, we are looking at two different reasons why things disappear, and this one shows you one of them.
Two different reasons. No.
Yeah.
No. Things definitely disappear for the first reason. You've conceded this on the last show. Things definitely disappear when they become too small to see in the distance, don't they? That's an absolute certainty, isn't it, Zinder?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Fact. It's
Depending
ignored
on
in the
your eyesight,
calculator.
obviously.
So when they tell you why things disappear in the distance, they ignore that. Perspective's ignored, and when things disappear in the distance, it's claimed that Earth curve causes it. Well, one of those things is a fact. The other one, Zinder, is people like Mick West pissing in your face. They're laughing at you, Zinder. They're laughing at how stupid you are.
Yeah, when I use the Earth curve calculator, I'm sitting inside a room or I'm inside a building, and I look at the wall, and then I think like, why can't I see the mountain that should be behind the wall? That might be because a wall is in front of me, but the Earth curve calculator doesn't tell me that the wall is in front of me. So the Earth curve calculator has to be wrong, right?
No. We're not talking about something that's in front of us. See this picture in front of us? That's not a brick wall at 3 inches. That's a piece of land at 34 miles. It's in the distance. Yeah? So when we talk about stuff in the distance, Zinder, you concede that things can disappear into the distance if they're too small. Well, that's ignored, but we'll absolutely compare these pictures and have to a calculator that doesn't account for that. And it's even worse. It seems like the people who peddle this nonsense to you have even put next to the calculator an angular size calculator from what you're telling me. So they really rub your face in it. I bet they laugh their heads off when people use that calculator. Yeah, look, here's the real reason things can disappear in the distance. It's not used in the calculator. No, we'll just tell you it's Earth curve. 10,000 miles away? Yeah, Earth curve's the reason you can't see it. What's that you say, too small to see? No. Just Earth curve. The only cause of things disappearing in the distance is Earth curve. That's what the calculator says, Zinder.
Sure, so angular size obviously makes things disappear if I don't have a big enough aperture, if I don't have like an aperture the size of the planet itself, for example. So obviously when something disappears, there, as we discussed, there are two reasons. And what you still don't seem to understand is that one of the reasons is angular size, the other one is that something is in the way. The Earth curve calculator tells you when you are standing on a large body of water, when the water will be in your way on a globe Earth. That's the only thing it does. It doesn't tell you about angular size. So what's the problem?
It only says something's obstructing the view, and that would be Earth curve. Well, what's it obstructing the view of? Could it be obstructing the view of something that's too small to see? Or will it only be asserted that Earth curve is the reason we can't see that thing behind your claimed obstruction? Something 10,000 miles behind your claimed obstruction isn't being obscured by Earth curve, just too small to see. But the calculator will still claim that it's just Earth curve that's causing that, Zinder. Right? So yeah, your calculator focuses on one cause. The thing in the near distance they claim is there but is not, that reifies your religious faith in a sphere Earth. The Earth curve obstruction's the only cause. Well, the target, the thing that's actually getting too small to see, that's not accounted for. The fact that it's too far away and too small. It's only the Earth curve, isn't it, Zinder? That thing they need to peddle to you, the bonehead, the thicko, that they're trying to convince with lies.
So, in other words, they tell you if you had infinite good and infinite vision, how far could you see over a large body of water? That's pretty much what they want to tell you. That's it.
According to the mathematics applied in the calculation, geometric only, perspective exclusive, according to those stupid maths, they would assert that we could see New York from Wales. Well, you can't, Zinder. It's way too small of an angle to see New York from Wales. But the calculator, which excludes perspective, would make that assertion come to life when other retards say, why can't we see New York from England? Wales. And we say, because it's too small to see. But when you put that into an Earth curve calculator, guess what they say the cause is, Zinder? There's only one. Guess what it is? Earth curve!
Sure, but you didn't address my point at all. You just went with your script
Infinite.
again.
Forever. Your mathematics imply that stuff never gets too small to see, Zinder. The only reason it disappears is because Earth gets in the way. So according to your maths, stuff doesn't ever get too small to see. Doesn't matter how far it is. The only cause of things disappearing in the distance is Earth curve, according to the calculator. Even though you know, and I know, and you said it earlier, there's two causes of things disappearing in the distance. Well, guess what? The calculator says there's only one cause, Zinder. Earth curve. No things disappear into the distance, Zinder. You can see forever, according to your mathematics. There's no angular resolution limit, only Earth curve obstruction. Because what they've done is taken the fact that things disappear in the distance because they become too small with distance and claim that that effect is Earth curve getting in the way. The single only cause the calculator claims.
Sure, I mean, if you had a big enough aperture, you could see theoretically infinite.
No, you couldn't.
Because
wrong. Every
What's wrong?
aperture has a diffraction limit, calculable in the Rayleigh criterion. Again, I said this on the last show. How difficult it would be to account for all of the different apertures, you declared, again, like the retard you are, until I pointed out there is a calculation they could apply, called the Rayleigh criterion, and it was made clear by Bob, the fallacy guy. It's not included. So this very real calculation that accounts for the diffraction limit based on the aperture is also ignored, Zinder. Guess what they blame it on? So if we did the calculation and the Rayleigh criterion said it's too far to see, it's too small, the camera can't resolve it, you know what the Earth curve calculator would say? Ding, ding, ding! No, it's actually Earth curve.
So if I see if a fly if I look at the fly, it flies away, it gets too small to see, right?
No, Earth curve gets in the way. Aren't you listening? Listen again. It's only ever one cause of things disappearing into the distance. So unless you concede that that fly has gone from your view because Earth's got in the way, you're making my point for me. Yeah, the fly does disappear because of angular size, but when you put that into the calculator, that's not what it tells you. It tells you Earth curve got in the way.
So there might be both reasons acting on something disappearing.
And they're both included. And they're both included, right? They're both in the calculator then, Zinder. There's more than one cause. No! You're not listening, are you? When you say there's both, there's only one cause if you're a fundy zealot globehead. There's only Earth curve to blame, Zinder. Don't you get it yet? There's only one cause in the Earth curve maths. Earth curve! Not angular size, not perspective, not aperture-based mathematics for the Rayleigh criterion. Only Earth curve, the single cause it asserts. One, not two. So if you're saying there's two, why the fuck isn't it in the calculator?
So you are the only one who claims that the Earth curve calculator says that the Earth curve is the only thing that makes things disappear.
Show me the other causes.
Yeah.
Hold on. Zinder, you did this again, you
claims that.
circle jerking ass. Show me the other causes in the calculator now. Show them to me. I did this before. You didn't show me anything. You're just a dick. So show them me. Show me the other causes now. Go.
Or
I don't have to.
them.
Because
Are
they
there
don't
any
claim
other
it.
causes, Zinder, in the Earth curve calculator?
They don't claim it. What's your point?
Are there
We need
any
to claim
other
it.
causes? I say the only cause is Earth curve. You say, where does it say the only cause is Earth curve? I ask, are there any other causes? You say no. So the only cause is Earth curve!
No, that's not what I said.
Show me the other
name-
ones. Show
the
me
name.
the other causes in the calculator. Now!
I don't have to.
Yes, you do.
It's
No,
your
I don't.
claim! That's your claim, you stupid dick!
That's your claim. That's not my claim.
It's an Earth curve calculator
That's-
that only claims Earth curve is the reason for things disappearing. If you want to tell me that something else is asserted in that Earth curve calculator, then show me it.
You are the only one who claims it. And the name is Earth's Curve Horizon Bulge Drop and Hidden Calculator. So it doesn't say angular size.
Right. So it doesn't
perfect.
include something that absolutely accounts for things disappearing then. It says it's because of Earth curve and drop, right?
It says when the Earth's mass will be in the way of your vision, aka the water.
So the cause is Earth curve!
Jesus Christ.
One of the causes.
No, the only
what's the
cause
other one,
asserted
then?
by that calculator.
Angular size.
What
The
is the other
only
one?
cause asserted by that calculator is Earth curve. There aren't any other causes asserted. You can't show me any other cause asserted because there isn't any. So yes, Cinder, it doesn't matter that I'm the only person pointing this out. The rest of you dicks are dumb and being duped by the authors of these calculators that only assert things disappear in the distance because of Earth curve. Not angular size reduction, not because the aperture isn't big enough, not because of perspective, but only because Earth curve obscures the view.
Alright, in other words, the Earth curve calculator tells you when something is below the horizon. That's it.
Something's below what? The Earth curve?
Yeah.
Yeah! So, you're conceding now, are you
Sure.
dick, after getting my blood boiling? So the only cause asserted by the Earth curve calculator is in the title?
No, it doesn't say it is the only cause. No one is saying.
So
What's the other one
Stop
then,
red herring
dick?
us.
What's the
I'm
other
not red
cause?
herring. You guys
Yeah,
are
you are.
strongmanning all the
Constantly
time.
deflecting.
No,
If
you
there is
say
another
it has
cause,
other
what is it?
causes. Now show us the other causes in the calculator. I know there isn't any other cause. You know there isn't other cause. Maybe you're just being a wanker.
Alright, oh, what's that here? They tell you that there is also a thing called angular size.
And do they
Let's
include
circle
that?
jerk back to it.
And do they
Why?
include that as a cause?
No, they don't.
So it doesn't include that, so we only have Earth curve claimed as the cause then, for the 10th time.
No, they don't claim it's only Earth curve.
What's the other one then? Because you've said angular size is mentioned, but isn't claimed as the cause. So what else is the Zinder?
Oh, maybe I can't see the mountain because I'm fucking blind. Or
No,
because
just a
or
wanker who's losing, Zinder. Losing badly because these people who make the calculator rely on your stupidity and rely on you thinking it's funny when you get your ass handed to me by somebody very frustrated like me who tells you 10 times that the only claim made by that calculator is that Earth curve obscures the view. There's no accounting for things disappearing because they're too small to see, and you think that's funny. Well, laugh at your own stupidity, Cinder, because that's what this is. Them, the people who made the calculator, Mick West, he's having a good laugh too, at your expense, mate. Because he knows just how dumb you are to believe this horse shit in the face of me pointing out that it doesn't include a very real cause. The other cause, the one that's listed on the calculator but not included, because they like pissing in your face, Cinder. They like having a damn good laugh at you.
Yeah, that they're laughing about someone who never used their calculator.
I've used the calculator, so it's not me that they're laughing at. It's the people who use it and believe it. In the face.
I don't use it. So who cares? You're like the only reason I know about the calculator is because of you guys.
What, flat
I
earthers?
would have never thought about it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so what
and
is
if
your
I hadn't
claim?
if I hadn't found out that the heliocentric deception was the massive, huge lie, then I wouldn't come across the curve calculator either. Anthony introduced it to me because Dazza, the cameraman, was telling him about how he must beg the question and assume that the Earth is a sphere, and then assume that the Earth is a sphere is part of a value that you attribute to refraction when using the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator. Dazza, the cameraman, was very keen to make Anthony beg the question
Sniper on
and then
call.
beg the
Sniper.
question again.
Sniper.
Who is it?
Jonathan.
So yeah, there's lots of caveats that we get told, or in this instance Anthony was told, about how we must use the calculator. We must use the begging the question fallacy on acid and assume the Earth's a sphere and then assume light bends around it at 7/6 of the presupposed R value.
Go on.
There's rules to using your calculator. So not only do they expect you to be stupid, they expect you to follow the rules and use it how they tell you to use it when you beg the question. Because it's weak, Zinder. Weak.
Sure, and just that I don't use it, so what's your point?
Ah, that's alright. You're a useful patsy then. For all the Muppets who watch this that think that proves the Earth's a sphere.
No one is saying it proves the Earth is a sphere.
It doesn't prove the Earth's a sphere. It's not
No, it
the
doesn't.
Earth's
Hey, AGM.
obviously and observably flat. Hey, AJ.
Like,
Hello.
Hello, lad.
oh, perfect.
So Zinder, let me explain it for a moment with the curvature calculator.
Let me just address the point that.
Now,
No,
did
just
you
a minute.
Did
Just
you
a
hear
minute.
my appearance on Jose's the other day? I mirrored it on my channel. Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen a lot of Flat Earth recently, but let me
Alright.
just 1 second. Let me
I
just
talked about the viewing function mostly.
What,
Viewing functionality.
1 second, Orwin.
And
Just to say,
objective views don't supply that.
one
So
second.
if you're gonna then compare it to something that does with a view function, like a picture or photograph, then there's a disconnect there. And you can say, okay, it's not needed, but that doesn't make it true. That's just a straight out lie because the two are not compatible. One excludes viewing functionality and the other does not. And then other people will say, okay, it is accounted for, but can't actually show how that is done. It's done outside of the process as an aftermath, which is also a fraud. So you can't do it. That's it.
Sure. So, to address the point before I want to make, before you started to talk, nobody is claiming the Earth curves calculator proves that the Earth is a sphere. First of all, only flat Earthers think claim it, though it is a straw man.
Total
And-
bollocks. And that's total lie.
That's lies. Rumpus claims that it doesn't need it. I've heard who was the guy you guys talked about on the debates the other day?
Wiggles.
Who did
Oh,
claim it had it?
I could name 15 people that have used it myself. You got like, what's his name? What's the Australian guy called? Ruhif. Daz the cameraman. You've got, bloody hell, I can't even think of them all now. There's
Rumpus,
loads of them that have used it.
Wiggles.
What are you talking about?
Kosho.
Them using it doesn't mean that they say it proves.
We're
it.
debating
Like,
the shape
Yeah,
of the
they
Earth.
do.
Yeah,
They
we're
do
debating the
that
shape of the Earth,
in
and they're using
discussion.
their maths to prove the Earth's
Red's
sphere.
rhetoric.
Red's rhetoric.
What they say
Audio
is,
guy.
what they say is that their observation proves the Earth is a sphere. They take the Earth's curve
So,
calculator
you're
and
just being a
compare
wanker.
it with
That's
it.
what you've said they're not trying to prove. You've just said they're not trying to prove the Earth's sphere with the calculator. Now you've just said the total opposite. You're here to fuck us around. You're just an asshole.
No,
Don't double speak us, you
I
asshole.
didn't say it.
Yeah, you've just said they use it
It's
to prove
maybe
the
a
Earth's
language
sphere.
thing,
You-
though.
the whole point of this
No.
conversation, the point you've stopped Darwin talking, is to tell us that nobody uses it to prove the Earth's a sphere. So you're just being an ass.
Sure, I'm an ass for telling you that the Earth curve calculator doesn't prove the Earth is a sphere, but when you take observations from the people who made the observations, they claim that they use the Earth curves calculator to compare it with the observations and then prove a globe with it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't perform viewing functionality. It's got absolutely no comparison to a picture. It's in side view. It excludes perspective. It doesn't take into account the aperture of the camera and the Rayleigh criterion. So it's not comparable to a picture. It's so far removed from a picture that you couldn't even, like Arwen says, it's totally incompatible. This picture, which is what's on screen now, doesn't include the side of my head. It's not there. But your calculations have the side of the observer's head so that you can keep everything in actual size.
Back, sniper back again, sniper again.
Jonathan Doherty?
Yep,
Get rid of him, get rid of
sniper
him.
alert.
Oh. I think he got AGM. Why is he doing that?
I want to get the whole panel.
They got
This is a devastating conversation.
So glad
that
Adrian's here.
Zinda's assisting us making it far more clear for the audience that the calculator doesn't include perspective and how it's hijacked perspective.
Sure, I agree. It doesn't include perspective. Thank you.
Well, does
So
this
we
picture
can agree. Perfect.
does this picture include
Let's
perspective?
move on.
Does this picture include perspective, Zinda?
Yes, it does.
Right. Well, that's what's getting compared to the calculator that doesn't include perspective.
Like you know, like every picture ever taken includes perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but
perfect.
according to the
Yeah.
calculator, this lamppost is dropping with Earth curve, Zinda. Yeah,
No, I
this,
don't
this
think
one's
so.
not just closer. This isn't accounted for, Zinda. Let's get it clear for Zinda again. The only cause asserted by the Earth curve calculator, clue is in the title, is Earth curve. So that's not a function of angular size reduction at distance. That's Earth curve right there, my friend.
Nope, it isn't.
No, I know that, Zinda. It's farcical, but that's what the calculator says because it only has one cause to assert while it pisses in your face and shows you the real cause next to it, right? It gives you an angular calculator but doesn't apply it. Wow, they must really know how dumb their audience is because you do use the calculator because you told us about how it included this function, Zinda. You're just a liar.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah, liar.
Because
Yeah, you know all about the calculator to the point that you can argue the calculator, but you say you don't use the calculator. So, yeah, you know that it's pissing in your face. You've told us. It tells you about angular size, but doesn't apply it. So it really wants to rub it in, doesn't it? These jokers. Mick West, man, he's a proper card, isn't he? He really wants to rub your face in it. Anybody using Mick West's calculator, Mick West is laughing his head off you. He knows you're dumb.
sure. The only times I've seen it used was like 5 times here by flat earthers and 2 times somewhere else by globe earthers.
Well, then you haven't paid much attention because it's being used countless times
Yeah, I don't spend.
in long-winded, highly debated arguments
Yeah.
several times
Yeah,
spread over the last 2 years.
Probably Orin, because like you are in the scene way longer and you spend a lot more time in it than I do. So probably you have seen it more times, so it's logical.
It may be slightly before you arrived.
Yeah.
Because you're here now half a year, is it?
Yeah, or like like half a year, 3 quarters.
Right. Well, it was mostly used in the first 1.5, 2 years. And then we started to really get to the core of how perspective really worked. We had an
Before it was
alternative and it was
crushed.
getting used less because they're trying to avoid it.
Mhm.
Getting too hot for them to handle.
Do you know about perspective? Do you know how they claimed they made a picture of the black hole? They used a telescope that would be the size of the Earth itself because of diffraction, right? So they used a lot of telescopes and that they put in on the Earth. And since the claim, or since I am convinced that the Earth rotates, the telescope moved, and then they could take a lot of pictures and then put them together in order to simulate a telescope the size of the Earth, that diffraction wouldn't affect it so much.
I don't think optics really works that way.
No,
Besides,
I
it was
think
a
so.
highly
Did you-
No, that is
pixelated
feasible.
picture, and
That
I don't
array
know.
is feasible, Owen.
I think it
Did you
was.
hear-
I think it was a zoomed-in, lit-up cigarette butt.
Did you hear Zender say he's convinced that the Earth rotates? Did you hear him slip that in?
Yeah,
No.
I did. Yeah.
No, he was creating a presupposition as to a silly theory, obviously, as to how that was taken, because there
Why
is
is
no
it so?
telescope the size of the Earth, and you can't miniaturize that if that is necessary with multiple telescopes. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it does. You can use a telescope array. That's what they've done. That's why I didn't bat an eyelid when
But
they're
you
like
can
this.
square out.
If
No, but not if you want to get the right depth.
It wouldn't surprise me if that picture was a legit picture. It's just a picture of something in the sky, a donut in the sky.
Right.
Well, so what?
Right.
You
Look
know,
more
if-
like an eclipse to
It's
me.
no, it's no different to showing Mars. Okay, that's a red light. Okay, great. Yeah, Mars. Great. Well, the only problem comes when you say, well, actually, that's a rock. And it's in orbit. And it's in a vacuum. And we can travel there. Well, that's a problem. But the picture itself, it's like, well, so what? It's only the bullshit assertions that come along with the picture. Like Zinda saying that the Earth's spinning when they gathered the picture. Somehow this picture turns into a proof of Earth spin. Okay, let's hear that then.
Oh, sure. Like the other possibility might be, as life is short, just wrote to me that the picture itself, so the picture of that black hole, or whatever it is, would be rotating above the Earth, and the Earth would be stationary, so the telescopes wouldn't have to move, but the picture itself would move around the telescopes, and the telescopes would take pictures of it, which doesn't sound reasonable to me, but it might be, like, on the first thought, a other explanation for it.
So, if the Earth's spinning, how many reference frames do we have? Does the Earth rotate underneath the atmosphere, or do they rotate as one?
Oh, it doesn't rotate underneath, probably. It rotates pretty much as one. And there are infinite reference frames when you go from north to south. There's one reference frame when you go from west to east.
Sorry, infinite reference frames. What are you talking about? Is it 2 reference frames or 1 reference frame?
Infinite. The more you go to the north, the more reference frame you will have.
So,
Every centimeter could be a reference frame.
I see.
Every new centimeter.
So the Earth is a rotating reference frame, and when you leave the Earth, you're in infinite other reference frames.
When you take an airplane, or let's say you take a helicopter and hover above the Earth, and you stay there, you are in one reference frame. When you move the helicopter towards north, then you are entering a new reference frame every centimeter you pass, because the Earth would rotate slower and slower and slower the more you go to the north.
I see.
You got
So
any,
you're saying as you transition between the reference frames, you see a difference in the Earth turning underneath.
Yeah, because of the difference in speed you experience when you go from the equator to the north. It is really...
No, I got it. But the bit I need you to confirm is different speeds of the Earth rotating underneath. Correct, Cinder?
It would be underneath then.
Yeah.
Yeah, when
so
you are leaving
you are
the Earth.
asserting that the Earth rotates underneath, then, Cinder.
When you
Just
when you
yes
enter
or
the
no.
next reference frame,
Am
yes.
I wrong? That's what you've described. I'm just getting you to confirm what you've just said. Repeating it back slowly. It's your own words, your description, infinite reference frames of the Earth turning underneath. You just need to say, yes, you've understood what I have said, Nathan. Confirm that I have understood what you have just said. Because that is what you have just said, Zinder. Please confirm that I have understood it, which I absolutely have.
Oh, I have to add something. Sorry. When you don't
No,
move,
Zinder, we can't move on till we get a concession that we're all in agreement. Infinite reference frames with the Earth rotating underneath. Just need a yes, as that is what you said.
so when you move, infinite. When you stand still, 1.
I mean, when you stand still, yeah, on the rotating reference frame, we're talking about the Earth rotating underneath the infinite reference frames as you travel north, as you just described. For some reason, what you've just described in detailing, the detail of the Earth rotating underneath, even though you've described it and I'm highlighting it, you don't want to just say yes. That's right. My assertion involves the Earth rotating underneath. Why wouldn't you want to just agree with what you've just described, Cinder? Is it because I'm about to take a giant shit on it?
Sure, go ahead, take your shit.
I will,
And
Cinder.
don't forget to
so
wipe your
if
ass,
the Earth
Nathan.
rotates underneath, then planes would have the Earth rotating underneath, Cinder.
No.
What do you mean, no?
When they move from west to east, they obviously have a certain velocity, so they fly, let's say, ahead of the Earth, or they fly the opposite of it. But
So
watch
you're
them
saying
try to
they
juggle it.
fly
Watch
in
them.
opposition to the Earth rotating underneath. That doesn't happen, Cinder. Because if it did, your plane times would be drastically increased if you were flying against the Earth turning underneath, or decreased if it was turning with you and the land was travelling towards you as you flew. That doesn't happen, Cinder, because the Earth doesn't turn underneath, you utter retard.
so the the planes, they keep a certain momentum, because momentum is conserved, as you know, unless you put a force against it. Do you agree?
Right, we're talking about the Earth rotating underneath, Cinder. Something you made it clear. If you travel north into the infinite reference frames, you get a different speed of the Earth rotating underneath. You made it clear. So you take off, and the Earth rotates underneath. So you take off, and the land mass you're travelling to comes towards you as the Earth rotates underneath. That's what would happen if what you say is correct, and the Earth rotates underneath. That doesn't happen though, Cinder. You just seem confused. This is why Mick West gets to laugh at you, because you are stupid. The Earth doesn't rotate underneath planes, Cinder. That does not happen.
So let's make it a little bit more simple, and let's take a helicopter, because the planes obviously move. So
So does a helicopter.
with the example of the helicopter, I think you would say once you leave the Earth with a helicopter, you just have to wait, right? until the location comes to you at 1,000 miles per hour.
That would be your assertion based on...
No, it isn't.
You claim the Earth rotates underneath, Cinder. The problem is that it doesn't rotate underneath a helicopter, and it doesn't rotate underneath a plane, because it doesn't rotate!
So when the helicopter takes off, it rotates with the Earth?
No, the Earth does not rotate underneath, because if it rotates with the Earth, then it's not rotating underneath, as you first asserted, Cinder. You seem very confused.
I'm not confused, because...
Yeah, you are. You've asserted the Earth rotates underneath. Now you're saying you take off in a helicopter, and the Earth doesn't rotate underneath, having had me point out that the Earth doesn't rotate underneath planes. So either it doesn't rotate underneath the helicopter, or it does. Your first assertion being infinite reference frames with different speeds of the Earth rotating underneath. Well, it doesn't, does it, Cinder? You take off in a drone, and it doesn't rotate underneath. You take off in a plane, and continents don't magically come towards you as you fly through the air with the Earth rotating underneath. You're just confused.
I'm not confused, no, because...
Oh, so the Earth does rotate underneath the planes then, Cinder? We have magical air time travel, where continents come towards us, because, as you assert, you've got these different reference frames with different speeds of the Earth rotating underneath, Cinder. So depending on your latitude, that continent would come towards you at a different rate as it rotates underneath. That's what you have said, Cinder.
Depending on the latitude.
Oh, so these continents do come towards the plane. Why don't the plane journeys take less time, Cinder? Oh, that's because it doesn't happen. You're just confused. There is no Coriolis effect. The Earth does not rotate underneath. The Earth does not rotate.
No, following. So when the helicopter takes off, it rotates with the Earth when it stays on the point, right? Regarding to the ground, obviously.
Yeah, when it's on the ground, if you've got two reference frames, yeah.
When it starts moving from the equator to the north, the Earth starts turning, some of the reference frames start to turn underneath, because...
Let me get this straight, you utter fuckwit. You think that the plane takes off and the Earth isn't rotating underneath, and then if you travel north, suddenly the Earth starts to rotate underneath because the plane or helicopter has moved north. Are you retarded? You think it doesn't move underneath until you travel north? You're a fuckwit. You're dense. Either it rotates underneath, or it doesn't, Cinder. It doesn't start rotating when you move north in a helicopter. That's just stupid.
It's a spatial non-linear rotation.
Kind
of it.
On the equator, helicopter moving at 1,000 miles per hour, Earth underneath moving at...
Helicopters don't move at 1,000 miles. Cinder! Cinder! No! There are no 1,000-mile-an-hour helicopters. What kind of world do you live in where helicopters travel at 1,000 miles an hour?
On the Earth. So, all right, then North Pole.
1,000 miles an hour.
North Pole. All right.
Theo,
North Pole, the center of North Pole.
I'm tired of this, Cinder. You're a stupid idiot. I'm sick of talking to you. You're dumb. Sorry, Theo. What did you say?
That I could talk about something that travels at 1,000 miles an hour. Bullets. Okay, so Zinder was explaining as you cross linear reference frames, there's an alteration that would cause the differential in speed. Now, if you look at ballistic tables, over no matter where you are on the supposed globe, is only 4 inches corrections. So how could it be true what he said, yet you only have to account the same amount of correction everywhere you are?
Cool.
How much did they say? How much correction?
1,000 yards would be approximately 4-inch correction.
Let me look something up a moment.
Now, for
Hey,
some
real
context,
quickly, I'm sorry, real quickly, can Riley go on mute? He's making a lot of noise in the background.
Hey, I'm on mute. It's not me.
Hey, for some context,
No, it's Theo himself.
yeah, it
I
might be
think
me.
it's just Theo stuff, Mike, but it's fine. We can just about make out what he's saying.
All right, so I was in the military. I was a scout. I was a range operator. I operated weapon systems that fired in excess of 3,000 meters. And guess how many times I had to account for Coriolis effect?
Never, ever.
Now, there's another effect called the Eötvös effect, which supposedly only applies in a east and west direction, and the Coriolis only applies in a northerly and southerly direction. Guess how many times I had
The Eötvös effect is north and south as well.
Yeah, but I mean primarily. Obviously, if you're in a reference frame, you're going to be rotating that direction yourself,
Right.
but your target will be orientated to you differently. So your target could be anywhere 360 degrees around you. So you have two reference frames, two calculations, a 360 degree sphere to your target, and guess how many times I had to do those calculations?
Never.
Never. Now, I argue with certain people, and they'll say, oh, well, that's because your weapon system was automatically accounting for it. I'm like, I took that weapon system apart and put it back together. I had the higher manuals because I was also the armorer. And nowhere in those manuals is there a system inside that accounts for those things.
Yeah, it's like when they say about the pendulous veins, correct for the gravitational pull of the Earth, and they don't at all. They stop it from toppling. It's a complete misrepresentation.
Hey, John. Can you hear us?
Yeah, it's pretty noisy, man. I'm getting a lot of feedback.
That's Theo. If you can pepper your mute button when in between talking.
No,
Theo.
that's coming from Riley. That's coming from Riley. He has to mute.
Sure. Can you mute the Hangout, Anthony, just to see if it is you causing that? Might be something other than your mic.
No, it's not him. I
didn't
can't
think it
see
was.
any activity.
I can't see any dancing lights on his line. I think it's Theo.
Right, but when I hear the noise, I see his avatar pop up on the screen.
Oh, really? Oh, maybe
That's weird. Shouldn't be doing that at all.
I'm on mute physically on the microphone. It isn't me.
This is Cinder. Yeah, that's definitely Cinder.
No, do it again. I can't imagine.
Anyway.
Are you in the car, Cinder?
What am I?
In a car?
Maybe. Who knows?
Yes, it's in there.
I am the car. Anyway, when it comes to Coriolis, it would be like 16 centimeters per kilometer.
Right, which is about what, 4 inches, right?
Yeah, kilometer is 1,000 meter, which what did you say? 1,000 yards is about 1 kilometer, right?
Close enough.
So it would be 16, like according to my calculations, it would be 16 centimeters per kilometer.
16 centimeters of what, Cinder? Of the Earth turning underneath?
No, 16 centimeter of deflection from to the left or to the right.
Deflection. Yeah, apparent deflection. You appreciate that it's an apparent deflection, though, don't you, Cinder?
Yeah, obviously it is.
So that would mean that the bullet travels in a straight line, and the Earth turns underneath to the tune of 16 centimeters. Correct, Cinder?
It turns underneath, yeah.
Right.
The bullet.
Underneath the bullet. So a high velocity projectile has the Earth turn underneath. Why doesn't the same thing happen underneath the planes, Cinder?
Well, when the plane flies, first of all, the plane has a motor, right? So the second thing is planes usually fly from west to east
What
or
does
east
that
to
have
west.
anything to do with it?
Zinder.
The plane has a motor.
Sorry, that's not answering my
What
question.
color is its wings?
Sorry, Cinder.
Clown.
Yeah, let's just get it clear. It makes absolutely no difference. If it's travelling underneath a bullet, ipso facto, it will travel underneath an aeroplane.
Sure.
Hey, I can answer that real quick.
And there you go on.
There are bullets, projectiles that have assisted rocketry. So bullets themselves have a motor. So your point is moot. It only compounds the problem. It doesn't take it away.
Wait, so
Yeah, the
like
bullet will have
all
a
bullets or
limited
some
amount of
bullets?
time in the air to experience the Earth turning underneath, whereas a plane is in the air for hours and should experience huge amounts of the Earth turning underneath with the continents coming towards you as you fly towards them. But that doesn't happen, Zinder. So if the Earth turns underneath the bullets, it would also turn underneath the helicopter, and it would also turn underneath the planes, but it doesn't. And here we are with somebody who has done this in the field, and according to him, it's never been accounted for, Zinder. So, the Earth does not rotate, Zinder. That's just the people who lie to you laughing at you. Like Mick West with the calculator, laughing in your face at how stupid you are. The
So
Earth doesn't
once-
rotate, Zinder.
Once the plane traveled 1 kilometer, and usually airplanes travel 900 kilometers an hour anyway. Once the plane traveled 1 kilometer, it should, if in a perfect world, it should have a deflection of 16 centimeters. 16 centimeters over 1 kilometer.
No.
It's not
So
the distance. It's not the
why-
distance. It's the flight time.
In other
Why?
words, totally
Exactly, it's the
insignificant,
flight time.
immeasurable, right?
Yeah, that's the point. So
Oh, it's
that's
too small
why.
to measure. Not a
So the-
convenient.
Zinder,
That's
Zinder.
why
Everybody,
you can
Zinder's
calculate
fault.
it yourself, Orwin.
You
Zinder,
can
let-
calculate it,
let
but
Theo
you're never
go.
going to
Let
see
Theo
it.
go.
Now,
Tell
are
him,
you?
Theo.
You're never actually going to confirm it. Now,
We are talking about the very principle of Coriolis.
No, you're not.
That's what
You
we are
don't have no
talking
idea
about.
what Coriolis
Yeah,
is.
and
Tell
you're
him,
saying
Theo.
that the deflection is so
You're not
insignificant
Theo, are
it
you,
could
Arwen?
never be measured.
Let Theo tell him.
It is not the distance traveled that is the important factor. It is the flight time over distance. The time, the amount of time the Earth has to rotate underneath. That's the factor you got to bring in question.
Duh.
Not just the distance.
Yeah, so an airplane would travel really
I
fast,
have no
right?
idea
And
what you're talking
An
about.
airplane travels much slower than a bullet.
sure, I agree.
Much slower.
But what you said, like the bullets you use, they have a motor. Like the bullets you use usually aren't ballistic.
Zinder, you have Google? Do you have Google?
Sure.
Okay, look up the muzzle velocity of just a common weapon, let's say the M16. Look up the muzzle velocity of an M16 and turn that into miles per hour. You'll see that it's much faster than an airplane.
I agree. Yeah.
So therefore, it takes a shorter amount of time to cover the same distance.
Mhm.
And the amount the Earth would turn is relative to the amount of time taken from point A to point B, not the speed or the
Yeah,
distance.
I agree. If you could teleport, you would be on like you teleport 45 degrees of Earth, and then you obviously would be at like the deflection would be zero. Right.
No,
I agree.
no,
Oh,
Zinder.
God.
No, you'd raise up in a helicopter and just hover. You wouldn't have to travel at any speed, and the Earth would rotate underneath. The continent
Do
would
you
just
know-
the continent would come to you if the Earth rotated. But
Do you
it
know
doesn't.
like there's a conservation of momentum and so on? Are you
Conservation of
familiar with
momentum
it?
of what?
Okay,
The
you made that
plane?
assertion. Sir. You made that assertion. Now show the math for it.
For
He can't show that.
conservation of
He
momentum.
doesn't even know
or
what the Coriolis. Have him define the Coriolis effect. That's what has first happened is have him define the Coriolis effect. Why go down this road if he doesn't know what it is?
What's the Coriolis effect, Cinder?
An apparent deflection of an object moving above a rotating object.
So a helicopter is above a rotating object, the Earth.
Yes.
So you only need hover, and the Earth rotates underneath, Cinder.
But it doesn't move relative to the Earth.
Yeah, it stays in its reference frame, and the Earth would rotate underneath. But it doesn't.
They are in the same reference frame.
No, that's what you've just
Sure.
defined with the Coriolis effect. Do you want to read it out or define it again, Zinder? Because that's in contradiction of the Coriolis effect. One reference frame, no Coriolis effect, my friend. Confused again, Zinder? Two reference frames. That's what gives you Coriolis, not one.
Yeah, or more reference
Right,
frames,
so the
more than two.
helicopter is not in one reference frame with the Earth then. Two reference frames, my friend. That's what gives you Coriolis.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
said that the helicopter
Yeah, but
doesn't experience
so the helicopter
Coriolis.
would hover and the Earth would rotate underneath if you have two reference frames. But we don't.
We have one. We
yeah,
have one.
so
in
no
that case.
Coriolis then.
In that case, when the helicopter
Not in that
hovers
case.
about the,
Either
above
the Earth
yes.
rotates underneath or it doesn't, Zinder. It's not in that case. The Earth doesn't start rotating because you move north in a helicopter. That's just your stupidity.
Guys, can't
Obviously-
you see? Hold on. Guys, can't y'all see that Zender's just tying up the show? He's just playing games.
Yeah, sure. Then
Yeah, he's contradicting himself with every other statement.
He's,
joke
he's
with
suffering
what?
from cognitive dissonance. He's holding two truths that are mutually exclusive to be true at the same time in the same way.
Yep.
And with that, I'll say if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. If you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley live stream, unfortunately, this is where we bid you farewell. So a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who joined us in the live audience. Also, a massive thank you, of course, to all of today's debating panel for making today's debate possible. If you need to keep yourself occupied after the live stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!